part 2 of the Make Him Yours dating course. You do not need to see part 1 before this, so if you haven't seen it, don't worry. What we're up to today is we're going to recap quickly what feminine energy is and get into the feminine energy of receiving, how to do it, and how to get amazing at it, and end with some questions. If it's your first time here, who am I? Why am I talking about this? I'm Alana, a former chronically single woman, not by choice, not for lack of trying. And now I've turned that around and I am the author of The Art of Feminine Seduction, which you can get in book form, Kindle, audiobook, and I have a course you can take. In case you missed video 1, what we did there is a very in-depth discussion of what feminine energy is. Feminine energy is sexual energy. So that's something people don't seem to mention every single time, but it's super important. Feminine energy is sexual energy, and you use feminine energy to attract or play with masculine sexual energy. Feminine energy in dating gets you more positive attention, effort, and serious commitment from men, which is why it's so powerful. And it's also really hot. So I always recommend you at least learn about it and find out how to embody more of it in order to make your dating life way better and also attract that incredible relationship. To be super clear, it's energy. Feminine energy dating does not require that you change your identity. It is not about playing out gender roles, and it's not performative. A lot of the advice I see out there about feminine energy is making you do all of these things, and that is not at all what actual feminine energy is about. So stay tuned and learn what it's really about. The feminine aspect that we covered in video 1 is being. Being is the feminine energy principle opposite the masculine doing energy. You can watch that video for more info, but I think here it's worth mentioning again because we're going to talk about it again in relationship to receiving. One thing to remember here is that you are already perfect in your feminine energy. You are already doing it. So there's no reason that you are doing feminine energy wrong. That's not happening. I promise you that. However, if you're being taught that you have to perform feminine energy, i.e. you need to pretend or try to force yourself to be soft and nurturing when you're actually raging mad, right? When you're actually upset, when you're actually disappointed with the way a man is behaving in dating, that is not you being in touch with your feminine being. That's not feminine energy. That's you performing an emotion or a way of being, and that's not feminine. It's cultural femininity often, but it is not actually feminine energy in the energetic teachings that I use. Our next distinction is receiving. So feminine energy is receptive, while masculine energy is giving. And when you can receive well from a man, he will worship the ground you walk on, okay? It's very, very powerful for men to give to you and have you receive well. This is where there is also a lot of confusion in the narratives around masculine giving energy and feminine receiving energy. There's a lot of talk about men being providers. And while that is maybe useful for your life, depending on the lifestyle that you want to live, money is not the only thing a man has to give to a woman. Providing material well-being is a wonderful masculine energy activity, but is not the only way to be masculine. It's just giving anything. And a man can give you his time, his energy, he can give you a listening ear, kindness, thoughtful gifts like a poem, a playlist, or a flower, pleasure. He can give you a family connection, attention, memes, wisdom, emotional support, a hug. These are all things that can be given and received very intentionally, right? This is the difference, intentionally given and received. And the masculine energy act is to give, and the feminine energy act, or being, is receiving. So while I do recommend that you date a man who has a lifestyle that you like and want, it is not actually a masculine energy principle that the man gives the money. It's not just about money and the material world. This is an energy teaching, right? It's feminine energy. So it's about what's the energetic exchange rather than what's the material exchange. Here's some things I think it's super important to not forget when you start your journey with feminine energy receiving. The first is to be, and that's where you need that foundational practice of being and noticing your being in feminine energy, is that you are being with receiving. And that's because receiving can feel really hard, especially at the beginning. You might get weird about it, might not be comfortable. You might get emotional about it. You might have mind games going on in your head, like you feel like you owe him something in return. If a man gives you something, you owe him something. And that's because most of us have been trained to have transactional relationships, even in love, even in romance. It's like we have these preconceptions that if something was given, something else must be given back in return. Other subtle things that can happen when you are receiving is you might get the ick and reject him. Like you might actually be turned off by his giving. Or you might feel like you've been starving for the attention that he's giving you and get kind of addicted to him. So it's super important to learn to be with what you are receiving and start noticing how you are with what you are receiving from any man. And on that note, you want to use discernment. The ultimate space of receiving is a full-bodied yes, but sometimes you genuinely don't want something. So you get to reject things that don't bring you pleasure. And I want to note here, we use the word pleasure, things you like, because this is a sexual energy teaching. So pleasure is at its root. It's very much in its core. You want to notice what brings you pleasure and what doesn't in dating. And when you are receiving something that doesn't make you happy, give you pleasure, that you don't enjoy it, you get to say no. You get to say no, thank you. Even though you've been conditioned to be a nice girl, or you feel like that's the best you're gonna get and that's what you deserve, you still get to say no thank you to treatment that doesn't work for you. And you can also ask for better if you feel safe doing that, but you don't just receive blindly. You use discernment in your receiving. So what we really want is that you can receive with a full-bodied yes. You've noticed your being, not just receiving money, it's not just sex, it's whatever is happening within the relationship. There was that whole list I went through of all the things you could receive: time, attention, energy, hugs, all of that. So when you are receiving that from a man with a full-bodied yes, and when you feel that full-bodied yes, you slow down and you soak up the pleasure of receiving from that man. And this is what makes men so excited to get to know you and be in your life. Is when you can really be in that space. That is incredible for a man to experience. It's very rare for women to really be intentionally receiving and experiencing happiness and joy and that lit up feeling that happens inside of a woman who is receiving with a full-bodied yes, and men love it. So you are giving them a gift. Here's a little transactional. You're giving them a gift of you receiving really well. And on that note, if you want to become super memorable to a man, because we remember how people made us feel, even if we don't remember what happened or what they said. So if you want to make him feel amazing and associate you with incredibly good feelings, you can express your gratitude in ways that are specific. So you want to be specific about the emotion you feel receiving in a really positive way, and that sticks in his memory. You can say something like, I love the rose you gave me. It makes me happy every time I see it. That is a very beautiful expression of what was given, and you really appreciate it. You're really excited about it, and it's making your life better. It's super common to get caught in thinking about giving. Even though you know about receiving, it's very common for your brain to want to think about what you can give and try to give, and you may even overgive, not just romantically, but also in most of your relationships. We're kind of taught that it's better to give than to receive, because we are taught that most things that are masculine are better than things that are feminine. So this can take a little bit of work to be with. You just want to be with it and notice how you feel and what's going on for you when you are in these kind of moments of either giving or receiving. And here I also want to be clear that it's not a gender role. This is about energy and energetic exchange. And so you are not prohibited from giving as a woman because you are feminine. It doesn't mean you do not give in the relationship. A relationship is a partnership. There's going to be giving and receiving in many, many, many areas. The idea in dating is that you are focused on the receiving because you're recognizing that the feminine energy power lies in what you are receiving from a man and how you are receiving from a man. And so you want to pay attention to how you are receiving and what's happening for you as you receive. It doesn't mean you're not giving also sometimes, because it's definitely totally great to give in partnership. However, it can be really easy to overgive at the beginning of dating. I hope that was helpful. If you have a question, leave it in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, you can reach out to me directly at hello@sovereign-dating.com or find my website www.sovereign-dating.com, and I have lots of free resources to help you on your feminine energy dating journey. And also, my book is a great resource if you are hoping to uplevel very quickly in this area. And subscribe and stick around for part 3.